All right, cyber traders, good morning and welcome on back here this Wednesday, April 7th. Right before I started here, I tripped myself over by saying October. I said to myself before I started, there's no way I'm going to do that again. So April 7th here, this Wednesday. Great to see everybody. Let's get a quick sound check just to make sure everybody can hear me loud and clear. I know I should be good to go across the trading room side. Great to see Grant, Randy, Ken, Sharon, Mario, Jason, Stefan, all of us joining us here live. And alongside them, all of us on social media, Facebook Live and YouTube. Welcome on back. So with that in mind, let's begin things with the SOS. I want to talk about stocks that we ended up catching from yesterday. We had a pretty strong day yesterday. It was really just one stock, but we did really well on it. The RMO, I'll talk about that again in a moment. But, hey, SOS has been a phenomenal pre-market trade. It popped in the after hours yesterday, really. So let's start with that. But the news on SOS more so, it took me a while to figure this out because it didn't pop up on Benzinga Pro right away. And I don't think it's still even showing here. I see like a little snippet here. SOS surges again amid since deleted Reddit post calling for a squeeze. That's not really the biggest news snippet out there. What I thought I saw, and I had to dig back just on Google for this, but I thought it was in relation to a lawsuit regarding SOS and, some illegitimate claims against the company. So, it looks like they're being proven right, the company, SOS is. So that's what led to a huge pop in the after hours. And with that, going into the morning here, we ended up seeing a nice run after 7 o'clock, ended up making this slingshot type of move roughly from 570. And I know that Grant and Randy were calling this out just a moment ago, right off of 6. You could see it just broke back above the 6 level here, going into 8 o'clock. There wasn't a whole lot of support holding this up. And with it up as much as it wasn't surprising to see this drop off. But at this stage right now, perhaps trying to build a higher low, trying to show a lot of buying off the 6th level. Looks like 602 in particular, like a huge order getting filled off 602 right now live. Look at that. Look at all the prints. 601 as well, but 602 is a beast. A lot of refreshing on the ask right now. So, you know what? This stock, definitely we're going to start by putting this on our watch list. It'll probably be, on the top of the list by the end of it all. But with that in mind, this stock's trading 28 million shares roughly before the market opened. That's a lot. Regardless of whatever the float of the stock is, I know we talked about that yesterday pretty much, and we did that more in Traders Talk, but, at least here for this morning, what's the float? 10.2 million shares. So, regardless of the float, so I was assuming it had a higher float. 10 million shares is relatively small. It's already trading almost 3 times its float. That's before the market opened here. So it wouldn't shock me for this stock to just kind of drop off further, to see it consolidate more. And then maybe later on in the morning, maybe, I don't know, don't hold me to this. Maybe like a 9:45, like at 10 o'clock, 10:30 perhaps even, we might begin to see it make another run back up higher. That's just kind of a straight, that's kind of like a shoot from the hip type of guess there. We'll see if that's right. But SOS definitely we're going to, trade, follow this going into the market open. Another one that we will still follow going into this morning, and I was just saying it before, the RMO, right? So I'd be remiss if we didn't follow this again. But of course, going into yesterday, who would have thought that this would have made the type of move that it made? Not just in terms of percent. We see stocks that make these, 45, 50, 100+% moves across the day or even pre-market. But to see a stock open up and, make the slingshot like right around 9:45, 10 o'clock, not surprising. To see it run up to 10, not surprising. To see it kind of consolidate after 10:30, 11 o'clock, albeit it's moving higher, it's starting to slow down. So that's not surprising. The stock is shortable. So with that in mind, you would have thought that if there were to be a reversal opportunity, that would have been a great short. So I ended up trying to short this going into the mid to late morning, going into the afternoon practically off the what price did I get in? It wasn't off at 10. It was off of, I think it was even 10.50 I got filled at. So nonetheless, ended up kind of dropping off. But man, I ended up wasting a huge profit. I tried to get back in again, expecting the drop off lower, and that was right around like 12:30 Eastern time. I was wrong again there. So it just kept going up, and the more it went up, I was thinking not to say I was going to keep shorting it, but I thought at some point it's got to pull back down. So personally, as this kept going into the mid-afternoon, I was a lot more timid to jump in long. I didn't jump in short because I ended up taking a couple of small lickings just, from earlier in the morning, but I just completely missed the whole trade. I was, kind of thrown off by it. And then, of course, going into 3:30, it ended up making its peak and, kind of crapping out the other way, which I did not get into myself. But you know what? Hopefully today provides an even better opportunity, not just for myself, but for all of us. I mean, if you were able to catch this from the early morning or even going into the early afternoon, just off the straight breakout here, you ended up, having a beautiful position. So hopefully it works just as well for you there. Hopefully it works better for me. So either way, the RMO, we're going to definitely just rewatch on our add to our list here going into the market open. All right, so with that in mind, folks, let's just go from top to bottom right now. I just want to jump right to it. We have a couple of other stocks that we ended up trading even from the pre-market this morning. The TMDI will start off with top percent gainer. Yep, this is still going. So, I wish this ended up making the exact move I would have hoped for. Ended up making the pop, but I wanted this to, break under and over $2.20. I'm talking after 8 o'clock. So a lot of buying off that price right before the 8 o'clock move. So to see this pop right away, it held over a previous high here. I didn't jump in, so it ended up costing me, moving up nicely up to 238 right now. Resistance, I would assume, off of 250, but there's definitely going to be some volume, 240, even 245 perhaps. The news on TMDI, it's just, I think it's Oppenheimer firm initiates coverage, price target of $4. I mean, hey, for a $2 stock, $2.10 stock back from 7 o'clock this morning to anticipate a $4 price target, that's a pretty big move. So, I'm not holding my breath and waiting for 4, like I always kind of joke about, but I'm hopeful that this can go up to 250. I'm hopeful it can go up to, maybe more, maybe 260, 275. That'd be nice. And, hopefully even further. But yeah, either way, TMDI definitely going to put on our list more of a level 1 stock. All right. Oof, nice pop here, though. Yeah, let's just see what happens. Or let's just check the prints first, and then we'll see if this can make the move to 250 right away. But a lot of yellow on the tape coming in off the initial pop from 240. 246, there seems to be a lot of volume filled there. Not really an iceberg order showing on the ask, at least from the NASDAQ at $2.50. I'll just jump back to level 4 book map. Yeah, I see it's probably through the Edge X, Direct Edge ECN. I see 53,000 shares total at 250. Might take like an extra couple of minutes before it ends up testing that iceberg, so I don't want to watch the whole time here. Maybe we just jump back in, a few minutes. All right, so watch, we'll probably break the second I step away. SOS, though, at least for right now, we talked about it just before, unfortunately, pulled back below 6. So I had said before, folks, it's trading so much more compared to its float already here in the pre-market. It would not shock me for this to drop off, and maybe later on for this to make the move back up to a degree. So if you could short it, then that might even be the better option, at least directly after the market opens. If it pops back over 6, then I would think otherwise. But, if it ends up shaking off lower after the open, then it wouldn't shock me to see this drop down to even like a $5 level here before moving back up. If I'm wrong, then we'll react from there. All right, so let's see what else we got. The ASTC, I know Chuck called out before. Let me just jump to Benzinga Pro on this here too. Not going to copy and paste today, but ASTC, just looking at this trade here, ended up making a nice pop right off, what was this, like 7 o'clock in the morning? Ended up making its move, or 8 o'clock? 8 o'clock here. 8 o'clock, pop, pull back, and then the slingshot up higher. So for right now, it's had a tough time making the move up to 3. I jumped in this trade at 283 earlier here. Ended up not making the higher high, ended up holding support briefly. I ended up getting out at 282. Ended up tailing back down here a bit. This is the type of stock you could definitely trade a lot of shares of. I did 1,000 shares on this, but after the open, I might increase my share size up to 2,000 or 3,000. On this trade, though, the news on ASTC, Astrotech shares trading higher after the company's subsidiary Breath Tech Corp announced it has signed an agreement with Cleveland Clinic Foundation COVID-19 breath test. That's it. All right, cool. I mean, hey, it sounds like good news. Led to a 25% move plus, or more than that so far, at least here this morning, but we'll look to see if it can go higher. All right, we keep the train rolling here, folks. What else we got? CBAT, familiar name. Unfortunately, though hasn't made anywhere near the type of move that we would want. It's hard to borrow, so you can't short it. But I mean, CBAT ended up kind of making this drop off from 6. I was watching this with one of our students, Terry, in a coaching session earlier. We ended up seeing this break over 6 super early in pre-market, not us together at the time, but from Bookmap level 4. We saw this initial breakout. There was not a lot of buying off of that 6 level whatsoever. So that led us to say, if it's not going to, hold over 6 and pop up higher here after 8 o'clock, it's just easy to say. There's only one other way the stock's going to go, folks. So ended up making this big, like 25-cent drop off so far. It's unfortunate. Maybe after the open, we'll make a big move. I don't mind putting this on our list. It's been a familiar name for us. So all right, another one that's been more of a familiar name actually over the last few days, the XL trade. We ended up seeing this drop off over the pretty much since 2021 started, but ended up making a big squeeze up going into the end of last week, and then once again yesterday, ended up making this big push. Let me just go back to yesterday's trade here. Ended up making this nice afternoon move, roughly around 2 o'clock, as you could see, broke back over 8. Ended up making, again, it's like the keyword of the day, but like the slingshot type of move up higher, up towards 875. It broke under 8. It actually broke below 790 and ultimately made the move from there. But once it re-broke back above $8 here, just kept on going. So, nice trade on the XL. And for as much as it had dropped off over the last several months, I think that there is a chance that we could see a type of continuation play here today. It might not be immediate right out the gate at the market open, but I mean, obviously right now already making a push. We'll look to see if this can keep going at some point this morning, definitely. And if it doesn't, at least for right now, just for those of us on TradeStation, you know what I'll say. But yeah, it could be a good short otherwise, right? So XL definitely. I mean, for right now, we'll focus on the long. But again, if it ends up dumping off, then maybe it could provide a good opportunity on the way down. We talked about that earlier this week. The stock CEMI did that. Hopefully RMO does that today. What else we got here? Eesh, not a whole lot right now. JWEL, unfamiliar name, trading 329,000 shares, but just ugly chart. Speaking of ugly, we got our wacky ACY trade, I guess, making some sort of squeeze up. Just, it's all noise. That stock is noise. I mean, if it can make anywhere near the type of run up that it made back at the end of last year, then God bless, that'd be great. And I'm sure over the last week we could say it's made some big pops and runs in pre-market. But if there are easier stocks to trade for you to make your same day's pay on, then what are we talking about? I'd rather trade BB. 4.7%, not necessarily making the biggest squeeze right now, but a familiar name stock that ended up making a huge run, going back into this year with all of the GameStop and Reddit stocks and all of that AMC. So for right now, actually, let me see. Is this earnings? No, earnings were, at least from what I see here, last week. I don't know if there's other news on BlackBerry this morning. I'll definitely check. I'll put this on our list. Otherwise, it's a familiar name and definitely more of like a level 2 stock, I'd say. Still a tight spread, good liquidity on the order book. So BlackBerry shares trading higher after the company announced Volvo has selected the company's QNX for its dynamic software platform. That's pretty cool. Not the biggest tech car guy out there, but nice headline, right? I knew that BlackBerry was getting back into the, well, not back into, but I knew that they were dipping their feet into the autonomous driving market. I thought that was the case at least, but nonetheless, BlackBerry, nice pop after 7 o'clock. It's holding support off 930. Hopefully, it could show more signs of buying, after the market opens up. All right. Cool. We have a good list here so far, folks. I mean, between the SOS, the RMO, the TMDI, now the BlackBerry, I definitely like. All right, let's hop over to the losers list, see if there's anything just looking as good or better. You get Fausto back here tomorrow. So for anyone that's sick and tired of me here this week, don't worry. You got the man himself back in action tomorrow morning, I believe. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed. But FGEN dropping off right now, down 30%. I mean, hey, big move down. It is shortable still for those of us on TradeStation. And even if it wasn't, if it was shortable on a different platform, I'd still put this on our list for you folks there. But FGEN announced FDA advisory committee to review one of their drugs. I guess that didn't go well. trading lower after the company reported it became aware that primary cardiovascular safety analysis of their drug included post hoc changes to blah, blah, blah. All right, so it doesn't sound like a good headline, at least on this trade, FGEN. Now, it seems like a lot of the volume has been filled from the after hours compared to the pre-market this morning. Yes, trading over 500,000 shares here in the pre-market, but looking at the big volume that we had from the end of the day yesterday, that is what I would focus on. So we're likely to see one of these levels act as a resistance going into the morning here. It looks like a big sell-off right around. I mean, you can shoot from the hip and guess 2650. You can just kind of put your line right, your chart right here, and say, yeah, roughly 2647-ish. 2650 seem to have been holding really well as a support. Perhaps could hold as resistance if it's not 2650. Perhaps it's 27. And then maybe it breaks out from there later on. It's down 30%, so it still has a long ways to recover from what was it, like 35. Yeah, so FGEN definitely either way in terms of a dead cat bounce opportunity or perhaps continuation on the way down. We'll look to definitely follow this into the morning. All right, so what else we got here, folks? We got GALT, GALT here, ended up making a weird move yesterday. Not this. This is not weird. This was weird in the afternoon. Had a nice run in the morning. It was great to see. I said in the afternoon we were going to kind of keep it on our side list for today, for the rest of the week and so forth. But after we finished up, man, at like 3:30, as you could see, just pop and drop, ugly move. And at this point right now, it's just, I don't need to put this on our list. We have a really good watch list going into the morning already. It's just, I don't really feel a need to follow this. It doesn't seem like it's doing anything right now either. Got the LI trade going into the open down over 5%. Took a big hit in the after hours. I don't know if this was earnings based or what. Let's just take a look one more time here. So Lee Auto shares trading lower after the company announced plans to offer up to $750 million in convertible senior notes. So it's kind of similar in the sense of a common stock offering or a direct offering, in the sense of once the news is announced, the stock typically does drop off quite a bit. They'll typically open more shares available for traders to take. In this case, it's senior notes. So we ended up seeing a report $750 million in convertible senior notes, led to a big drop right away. Pretty spotty chart going into the market open. One thing I do want to point out, because although it's not like a huge order on the bid really at 24, look at the volume bars on the TradeStation matrix. Now I'll tell the story. All right, what else we got here? Marit down 4.75%. Obviously a big move from yesterday. Well, 2 days ago on the way up, on the way down yesterday. Bitcoin dropped off a little bit more today. I'll bring up the chart going into the afternoon. I just don't have it up right now. I think it only dropped off a slight bit, but Mara obviously took a bigger drop though. And for right now, I mean, it's just a little expensive. And with expensive, it's not even the expensive part, because I would trade NEO or even AMD if it provided a good opportunity, and that's much more expensive. But it's more of a liquidity issue on this trade alongside this riot. So, I'm not as keen to follow these going into them. I'm not as keen to follow these as day trades, really. Canon would be a better one here, CAN, right? Like we love trading Canon. Again, though, same with this as I had said before on GALT. It's just, I don't feel a need to put this on our list. A lot more active than that one, but for right now, just keep this on the side. Maybe after the open or after 10 o'clock, I'll look on this trade. All right, folks. So let me know, what do you have for me? If there's anything up, down, left, right, more than 5%, just type it in the chat board here. I appreciate the love, Jeff. Gene getting 12 cents on the TMDI. He was in from 230. He got out at 242. All right, jump to Facebook Live here. It looks like one of us saying AIM getting some volume here. Interesting. That is a familiar name. We've traded AIM off of, I think it was Vaccine News, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, ended up making a nice pop. Definitely good call. Yeah. Now it's already dumped off, so it's unfortunately making the type of move that we would not want it to make right off the pop. A pullback's expected, but if this continues to dump off, then it's just not going to provide a real opportunity for us, maybe until later on. But, let me just check the news on this. I'll put this on our list. So AIM announces safety data in first cohort of phase 1 clinical study. So I like to joke with saying this. It's true, of course, but I'm not a scientist. I'm not a pharma guy either. But it's to say that phase 3 news is a lot more significant or important compared to phase 1. I think there's a lot more to go in terms of their drug. But nonetheless, I mean, it sounds like good news. But yeah, we'll see if this can keep going after the open. Chuck Z calling out the HYLN trade and Norman on a short from XL. Got 10 cents just now. HYLN ended up making a pop up 8.9%, or it's up that much right now. Interesting. I like this stock, not necessarily because of the pre-market activity, but look at the daily chart. Kind of reminds you of something. If you were to look at that daily chart, I don't know. Kind of reminds me of RMO, no? Stock got beat up. I mean, this took a steeper drop in a shorter time. But the HYLN trade ended up getting beat up consistently across October, September, pretty similar. I don't know, just saying. I like that. So HYLN, we'll put on our list. All right, folks, that'll do it for me, really. Only because, well, 2 reasons. A, we're good right now. We don't need to add anything else. And I like the last 2 that we did put on our list, the AIM and the HYLN. I really do. So we're pretty much, maxed out, I'd say. We have a really strong list. But otherwise, it's already 9:22. We got to make sure we're prepped up going into the market open. So, for all of our students that are in our classes, the phase 1 through 3 curriculum, you folks should know already by going through the classes that you don't need to wait for me to pump this list out to you to start lining up your charts. You should have been doing that from 8:30 in the morning, right? So nonetheless, we only have such little time. I would look to do that, if you haven't already. I would start off on stocks that you're most familiar with, stocks that you're most interested in trading going into the market open. You don't need to prep up and line up every single chart. I would just start with a couple, and then from there we'll work together as a team after the market opens, and we'll try and catch the right runner at the right time. All right, so for all of us on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube, I'll catch back at 2:30 p.m. In the afternoon Eastern going into the close. Outside of that, if you haven't already joined us live inside our trading room, feel free to do so. I'm going to resume the audio commentary with all of our students live there. Go right down to the link on the banner below just to get started. All right, folks, for all of us there, I'll talk to you pretty shortly.